At 9 a.m. on Thursday, August 27th, 2020. And I would ask that everyone bear with me because I'm obliged to read a fairly lengthy opening statement. Good morning and welcome to the August 27th, 2020 Board of Assessors meeting. As chairman of the Board of Assessors, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-4, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with emergency order, I am confirming that we are 1A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom through the city's IT department for this electronic meeting. All members of the Board of Assessors have ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen into this meeting through dialing the following number, 929-205-6099. Once again, that number is 929-205-6099. And using the meeting ID number 647-437-0083. Once again, the meeting ID number is 647-473-0083 and password of 229644. Once again, the password is 229644. The public may also view this meeting on Comcast Channel 16. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public postings. Instructions have also been provided on the City of Nashua's website at nashuanewhampshire.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and the Nashua Public Library. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or channel 16, please call 603-821-2049. Once again, that number is 603-821-2049, and they will help you connect. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, the reason they are not able to attend the meeting in person, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Mr. Early?
Bob, you're on mute.
Mr. Early, are you with us?
He's there. I see him.
Mr. Early, I think you need to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
I'm sorry. This is Robert Early. I'm a member of the Board of Assessors, joining the meeting from my home. I'm following the governor's recommendation to join the meeting remotely. There's no one here in the room with me.
Mr. Bergeron?
I'm Paul Bergeron, a member of the Board of Assessors. Following the governor's advisory, I'm joining the meeting remotely from my home, and there's no one else in the room with me.
And I am Dan Hanser, member of the Board of Assessors. I am joining the meeting remotely and following the governor's advisory. There is no one here in the room with me. Okay, today we will be hearing various requests as listed on the agenda. Please note that decisions may be taken under advisement and involved parties will be notified at a later date. Per the City of Nashua bylaws, a minimum of 2 or more affirmative votes are required to approve any application. In addition, this board will hear any and all scheduled cases as long as quorums of 2 voting board members are present at this meeting. Any citizen has the right to contest the decision that this board makes, to appeal a municipality's decision on an abatement application. A taxpayer may appeal to either the Board of Tax and Land Appeals or to the Superior Court, but not to both. Please contact the assessing department for more information. Ms. Brown, are there any changes to today's agenda? Ms. Brown, I think you might be muted and you need to unmute also.
No changes?
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions before we begin? All right, so seeing none, we will get underway. So is there a motion to waive the reading of the Board of Assessors meeting minutes from July 30th, 2020, accept them and place them on file?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Are there any errors or corrections?
Mr. Hansberry, we received some edits to the minutes that were provided to us previously. Are we voting on the edited transcripts?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented signify by saying aye.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Oh, that's right, sorry. Okay, Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Okay, is there a motion to waive the minutes of the non-public session meeting from July 30th, 2020, accept them and place them on file?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Are there any errors or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Communications, there are none. At this time, I will recognize Director Kimberly Kleina, who is the Director of Administrative Services and also has responsibility within that position for oversight of the assessing department. Director Kleina.
Good morning. With the board's permission, I will share my screen so that members of the public may see the memo. So for members of the public that may be watching, we put this up on the screen and it's also attached to the meeting minutes, anything that I discuss with the board. So today's memo, which will have attached to it the latest update from Vision Government Solutions on the status of the full measure and list. I'd like to let residents know that these are also published to the website. Every update that we receive from Vision, you will find there. This last week, staff met with the Vision team to finalize the commercial data collection guidelines, which will be submitted to the Board of Tax and Land Appeals with the next quarterly report. As I reported to you in June, assessing is scheduled for a remodel, which will include a new customer service area and reconfiguration of the assessing office area. A second request for proposals or rebid was issued on August 19th, with proposals due on August 31st. And to share a little bit about that remodel with the board, I'm going to switch to a proposed outline of that remodel. So as you can see on the sketch that I've displayed, this is the proposal, and I wanted to just quickly go over it with the board so you understand our goals. Currently, when you walk down the main staircase in the rotunda, You walk into an area that now has the print shop here, and the maintenance shop here, and you have an employee entrance to assessing here. We will be building a brand new customer service area in that opening space between the hallway and the maintenance shop. So this will be a brand new room that you will see once you reach the bottom of the stairs. It will also, for the first time, include an ADA accessible counter area. That was one of our goals. So currently, when you walk down the stairs, this does not exist. You enter the hallway and you enter assessing here, which will now, the office will be switched. Now the assessors will be located where currently the customer service area is, and the administrative staff will be housed where the assessors are. So we're doing that so that the administrative staff is closest to the customer service, the new customer service area, and the assessors can be closest to the new chief's office, which will be located here with the assessors and GIS. The other reason for doing that is currently the chief assessor's office houses the only conference room, which isn't best suited when other staff need to meet with someone and the chief is in his office. So we are creating a new conference room that it will be accessible from the hallway, but also from within the assessing suite. What we hope this will do is allow administrative staff that need to meet with residents and actually sit down and maybe discuss an exemption or a credit, that this will allow them to bring those residents into this new conference rooms space and have an area where they may discuss details of their exemption or credit or business that you wouldn't want discussed out in the open. So this has been a goal of ours. We're anxious to get started. And what we hope is that we can start the construction in early September. So right now, the plan is September 9th. That's a Wednesday. Will be the last day that assessing will be accepting appointments by the public within the building. On September 10th and 11th, our information technology department will relocate the assessing and the GIS computer systems out of that area. The area does have to be completely empty before they will begin construction. Those computer systems will be housed, relocated within City Hall so that our staff can work remotely and access them remotely. The department will continue to provide our residents service by email, mail, or the drop-off box located at our Elm Street entrance. All this will be up on our website, and a press release will be issued. The assessing department modifications are estimated to be completed within 8 to 10 weeks. So as all of you know, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we have modified the way that we gather information to update property record cards, either due to our property transfer or building permit work, which has been completed. In lieu of conducting interior inspections, We've sent out questionnaires to obtain the data and hopefully speak with the property owner. Of 535 building permit questionnaires mailed, we've had 155 returned. Sadly, that's about 28%. Of 1,024 sales letters, we've had 271 returned. That's about 26%. Our assessors have been actively conducting exterior inspections and contacting residents for the capture of building permit data prior to the submittal of the October 1st MS1. Our administrative staff has been extremely busy. They've been preparing our property record files for delivery to Inception Technology. Inception Technology is the vendor that has been contracted to scan our property record files into a digital database. These files have been prepared for the first round of scanning, approximately 50 boxes. And that requires us to create a manifest for each box of exactly what property record files are contained. And that's a lot of work to complete. When you look in the vault, I would say those 50 boxes might represent maybe an eighth of what's contained in the vault. The vendor estimates each round of scanning to be completed within 3 weeks. So that shows you a little bit of how long this process is going to be, considering that's maybe about an eighth of the vault, and it's 3 weeks at a time. So, Chair, that's all I have for you today, unless there's any questions.
Thank you very much, Director Kleiner. Are there any questions for Director Kleiner?
I have a few, Mr. Chairman.
Go right ahead.
Mrs. Kleiner, I guess my first question is, I couldn't tell from the layout of the plans for the renovation. Is building maintenance going to have a separate doorway to their area, or are they going to be actually walking through the customer service area of assessing?
Very good question. They will still have their current doorway. The room will start right after their doorway.
Okay. And my second question, and maybe it's a group of questions, deals with the scanning of the records. Do you know, or perhaps you can respond to me later, I'm wondering what kind of digital file is being created as a PDF or TIFF or some other image. I'm wondering what the plans are for the paper records. And I'm wondering what the if there's any image verification planned once the documents have been scanned to verify that the images were captured properly and accurately and completely.
Certainly. So the software that's utilized is DocuWare, and it creates PDFs of the files.
Is it PDF or PDFA? PDFA would be an archive.
It's a PDF file.
Okay.
What they do create, they will send back to us, and we will QC those records. They are scanning the complete property record file. So those property record files will still need to be looked at to determine what is a public document and what is a non-public document. We will have the ability to redact certain information document by document. So if there was a small section of financial document, financial information within that one document, we could just redact that portion of the document. So it'll be a review process that we will have to complete as the files are scanned. And then your third question as to what will happen to the property record files, it's still being discussed currently. They will be returned. And whether we continue with the vault and just keep the property record files as they are, and from this date forward, move more to a digital database. Ultimately, you want to lessen that paper footprint. Number one, we just don't have the room to hold all those records. But for right now, they are coming back to the vault and we will refile them as they are.
Okay, if I might, Mr. Chairman, just one last comment. Under the state records retention schedule, any record that has a retention period of 10 years or more must be retained as a paper record or a microfilm record. So if some of these files need to be retained permanently, and sometimes certain building records do, plans will need to be put into place to ensure that those records are preserved.
And if I may, so we have actually had the conversation of whether we wanted to go to microfiche versus keeping the paper records. But yes, good point.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much.
Other questions for Director Kleiner?
Nope.
Director Kleiner, I would just say that I think that redesign is going to be a tremendous plus for the public, because right now, when you walk into the entry area, when there's another citizen there, when I walk in, it's already congested with just 2 people. So I think that's going to be a tremendous enhancement. Okay. New business. Mr. Gary Turgis, have you joined us?
Yes, I'm here. I believe you can hear me now.
We can hear you. We can see you. Yeah,
Right.
live and direct.
Live and direct. Yeah, I've had experience with Zoom before, but I don't know. I'm not sure why I couldn't get this in, but eventually I figured it out.
So if you want to go ahead with your abatements.
Okay. Sure. The first abatement that I have is the abatement for 29 Monica Drive. Mr. LaPointe's property, it's a Cape style home located on 29 Monica Drive. It is a unique home where it has a solar system as its main heating, with wood and gas as its backup. The city did an evaluation on the property. We did an inspection, exterior inspection, and spoke with the taxpayer by phone and in person at the property. And the analysis that the city came up with was that the assessment was in line and to recommend denial.
Questions for Mr. Turgis?
No questions.
No, I don't have any.
Mr. Turgis, the concrete wall that he references, and he loses living space because of the concrete wall. Can you address that?
Sure. The concrete wall of the exterior of the house on the south side of the house is about 3 feet. It's almost like 2 concrete walls. There's a 3-foot gap between the exterior of the house and the actual start of the interior of his house. And it's just space that absorbs through the windows, through passive solar and the concrete. It absorbs the heat. And then basically on the inside, they open the windows once the heat builds up, and it lets the heat filter in through the windows into the finished basement area and into the first floor area. But it's definitely a 3-foot gap. You can see it from the outside of the house. The 3-foot gap is basically the thickness of the concrete cinder block, and then approximately 2 feet of dead air space that heats up.
Thank you. So is there a motion to deny the abatement for the property located at 29 Monica Drive?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Mr. Turgis?
The next abatement that I have is a property located at 78 Concord Street. The subject property, it's an antique style home. The taxpayer felt that the market value of the property was 579,900 basically. And they arrived at supplying some assessment comps on Concord Street and came up with a cost, an assessment per square foot of the property based on the averages. A phone interview with the two taxpayers, the two homeowners, an inspection of the exterior of the property, as well as conversations at the site, resulted in a couple of data changes, nothing major. And the city put an analysis together, and in the analysis, the city's market value was $650,000. Equalized, the value is 577.2, and the city's recommendation is to change the assessment from 737.6 to an equalized assessment of 577.2.
Any questions for Mr. Turgis?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
of the 8 homes that the homeowner provided that were on Concord Street, only one was used, were the others not applicable or?
They were not sales.
Oh,
We-
okay.
They hadn't sold.
I thought there were a high number of sales for a small area. Okay.
Other questions? All right, so seeing none, is there a motion to approve the assessment reduction for the property located at 78 Concord Street to $577,200?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Motion is adopted. Does that conclude your report, Mr. Turgis?
Close my report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Okay, there is no unfinished business. We will move to public comment, and just so the members of the public know, we recently revised our policies and procedures, and we now have a specific length of time noted within those policies and procedures for public comment excuse me. So each person is allowed a 5-minute period or up to a 5-minute period to address the board. Are there people who have signed up for public comment?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't sign up. I'm not certain how you sign up, but I'm just here. So my name is Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. I just want you to know I could not dial in on the phone. It would allow me to dial in, and then it would put me on hold and say, I have to wait until you allow me to enter. So I just want to let you know that that was a problem. And I use my phone more than my computer. I'm on the computer now, but there's a big internet problem over here with Xfinity on Berkeley and Concord Street. And I've had a lot of trouble. So, but unfortunately, I haven't been able to get in. I had tried to send a text to Miss Kleiner, but her number wasn't valid anymore that I had either. So, but just a couple of things. The permit and sales data that was discussed in the report by the director, I thought that Vision was handling permit and sales, but it sounds like our assessors are doing some things as well with the questionnaires certainly going out, which is fine. And I see that the percentage return is fairly low. Sales, though, we have the advantage of still being able to use MLS data. I'm just wondering, are we still on the schedule where we're not, or are we following the plan where we're not doing any depreciation, condition, or grade changes on these properties with MLS data, and we're only correcting based on physical items? That's a question I have because there is quite a lot of 2019 data that the adjustments to depreciation were not made. And I knew when Vision came on for the 2020 work, we were told they weren't going to make those adjustments until 2023. But that leaves some really big disparities on homes that have been completely redone. So, and that's going to create a very low ratio if there's no correcting going on in that. But that's just a concern I have. Also, I would ask that the board revisit the policy on how we handle documenting property record cards in the file. There's a policy that I had from Angela Moreno that was dated in 2012 that detailed out our process. And now the existing policy, I feel, is missing elements of what we do, which is, you know, when we update a property record card for a permit, we pencil mark the old, we take it back to the office, a clerk or assessor inputs the changes, we check it, we staple the old to the new, it becomes a record in the file that's a public record. That process is not really outlined in policy, and I think it should be. And I'm concerned, you know, it seems to be we're still doing that, but it leaves the door open to say, did somebody change it and we're not? So I want to be very clear on what our practice is, and I think documenting our practice in very clear terms is important. And also, I feel strongly that the Board of Assessors should be reviewing the abatement applications. You know, the RSA states that abatement applications are to be reviewed by the board. And I feel that I had been told that the way we process abatement applications is a first come, first served basis. But you have no idea that that's happening because you never see the applications on who came first and what is first come, first served. I don't feel I was handled first come, first serve in 2018. Certainly wasn't handled at all in 2019. But when I went and looked at all the abatement applications, I don't really believe people whose applications are stamped with dates are necessarily getting first come, first serve. And I also think that if you're going to be an impartial board, you need to see both sides of the story. And that means people who've done appraisals, who've submitted sales data, take a look at what they've put in. Yeah, you know, I understand that you fully trust our assessors to be the voice on what the value should be. But since the law states that it's incumbent on the property owner to present the burden of proof is on us, then I think our information should be reviewed by the board. And like I said, I'm particularly concerned that the first come, first serve nature of what's supposed to be happening in there isn't really happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other members of the public who would care to comment? So apparently not. All right. Are there comments by board members?
No,
No,
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to go into non-public session for two reasons? First, to discuss matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to include any applications for for assistance or tax abatement or waiver of a fee, fine, or other levy if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant pursuant to RSA 91-3:A, Roman numeral 2, parenthetical C, second under 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, parenthetical I, for the consideration of legal advice provided by legal counsel, either in writing or orally, to one or more members of the public body, even where legal counsel is not present.
so moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I will call the roll. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Bergeron,
Yes.
Mr. Hansberry, yes. Let the record show that we are